Hi, so the next question is from someone in Los Angeles, California. And the first question is, what does it need to be a Buddhist? And is a monk life difficult? To be a Buddhist, traditionally you would take the Buddha, his teachings, and the teachers or the followers of the Buddha who have become enlightened after him and who've passed on the teachings as your refuge. You would consider those three things to be your idol or your role model, and that those three things would then be the leaders in your life, and the three things which you would look up to and look for guidance in the same way as you would with any religion. So in the Buddhist religion, the thing that you look up to or you look to for guidance and assistance and as a model on around which to shape your life is the Buddha, his teachings, and the people who have passed on his teachings. And there are various ceremonies by which one could do that, where you do the chanting. You chant, "I take the Buddha as my refuge. I take the Dhamma as my refuge. I take the Sangha as my refuge," and so on. The other thing that traditionally you should do as a Buddhist is take the first step towards following the Buddha's teaching, and that is to keep the 5 moral precepts. It's considered that if you're not following these 5 precepts, you can't really be considered to be a follower of the Buddha, no matter how much you might pretend to be. And the 5 are not to kill, not to steal. Kill means killing any animal life. Not to steal, not to cheat in terms of committing adultery or extramarital affairs and so on. Not extramarital, breaking up someone's relationship, either your own relationship or somebody else's, for romantic reasons. Lying and taking drugs or alcohol. So if you can do those 2 things, taking these 3 refuges and keeping the 5 precepts, you'd be considered to be a Buddha. And there are ceremonies for doing that. Maybe one day I'll post a ceremony that people could use to follow along. The second thing is, a monk's life difficult. Yes, a monk's life is very difficult. Monks have 227 official rules that they have to follow, as opposed to just the 5, and a whole strew of other rules that are official but are not mentioned in the list. They're in the books and you have to go and read and understand them. I mean, things like opening the door while you're holding your alms bowl. This is against the rule. Lots of different things. When you wear your robes, you have to put a mark on them first. If you're wearing a robe that is clean, that has no stain on it, you break a rule. There's hundreds of them. And I would suppose that's the really it. You've got a lot of rules, and so your life is very very restricted in that sense. I mean, it's like a soldier's life. You ask yourself, is it difficult being a soldier? Yes, it is, but the benefit is that you're able to go out and do away with all of the enemies, all of the bad guys. So the benefit of being a monk is that your life is so restrictive that you have the power and the focus to do away with all of the bad things in the mind, to be able to do away with all of your inner enemies, all of the things that are causing you suffering. I think a lot of people misunderstand the monk's life simply from not really having much connection with it. It's something that's very difficult. It takes a lot of practice. The real reason why I'm doing it is I thought in the beginning that it would be a wonderful challenge. I thought this is something that is not easy, because there were other things in my life that seemed really easy, and I usually gave them up because they seemed to be so simple that they weren't going to lead me anywhere. But this has really challenged me to the core of my being. Being a monk has been the most challenging thing that I've ever undertaken. Besides, of course, the meditation practice itself. And they go hand in hand. Being a monk, if you do it properly, it's quite beneficial towards the meditation practice, because you live alone. You're surrounded by the Dhamma. You're surrounded by the Buddha's teaching. And I guess in that sense, it's not difficult. It's difficult in that it's very, very difficult to stay on track and to not fall away from the monk's life. But it's really easy, in another sense, to be forced into the right path, because you've got so many checks and balances stopping you from going off the path. So as long as you can keep it up, as long as you can correct all of the misbehavior that is going on in your mind when you want to go off the path. It's very easy to see what's right and what's wrong. It's not as confusing, or as it's also not as tiresome as the lay life, where you have to engage in activities which are often meaningless. You have to work for something that you might not believe in. You have to do work which has no end result, except allowing you to survive and run the rat race or so on. So there's a lot of distraction and a lot of getting on the path, getting off the path in the lay life as an ordinary person. As a monk, you're forced on the path. It's either get on the path or get off. So I hope that helps. I hope those were serious questions, and there's my answer.